Hi, I'm Ahmed Al-Akbar for the Marketing Insider video series, and today I want to talk to you about old versus new selling. I remember a time I was buying a car, a second-hand Mercedes from a guy called Ali, and I know nothing about cars, so I asked Ali, has this car ever been in an accident? And he said, no, it's never been in an accident. So I ended up buying the car because it looked from the outside, it looked absolutely fine. I remember driving the car about 1 or 2 months later, and it started to shake all of a sudden, and the air conditioning started to smell. So I took it to the Mercedes showroom to get it checked out. And I remember the guys lifting the car up, and two guys with overalls, and they were looking up, and they looked at me, and they looked back up again, and then they looked at me, and they said, "Your car is absolutely fine." I said, "Thank gosh, what a relief. This isn't going to cost me too much." And they looked back up and said, "Pity it's been in an accident." Now, that is an example of old selling. And why it's old selling is because I was the buyer, and in this case, I had limited access to information. In the old selling scenario, all the information was held by the seller. He could keep it, he could tell you only what you really wanted to know, and everything else was with him. So therefore, he had a bit more of the power in the purchase. But in today's unlimited access to information, you can go online and you can find out whatever you want about any kind of product before even the seller knows about it. So new selling not only gives that power to the seller, but new selling also gives that power to the buyer. So to people like us that are marketing our products and trying to sell our products, what does that mean? That means that we need to make sure that our communication, we need to make sure that we are communicating consistently and being helpful to the buyers that seek out our products or services, because if we don't, then others will, our competition will. Now that brings us to the question of how do you share that value? How do you become more useful? How do you educate your customers and your prospects about what it is that you sell? So I'm going to give you a few ideas on how to do that. Let's say you have an idea that is helpful with regards to your product or service. What I would do is I would start by writing down 5 tips about whatever it is. Let's say it's 5 tips to look for when purchasing a car, for example. I assure you I won't write that article. Let's say you have that idea. The first thing that you do is you could write an article, which could be, let's say, 500 words. But the beautiful thing about it is you could put it on your blog, on your company's website. You could send that article to a newspaper so others can read it. You could put it on other websites. You could put it on social media. And by sharing that value, customers will be able to read it and then start to trust you. You can take the same idea, that 5 tips about picking a car, and do a presentation at any type of networking event that you can think of, anyone that will accept what you have to offer. Again, you are not trying to sell your product or service. You're just trying to be helpful here. You can record that presentation on a video camera and post it on YouTube. Again, you can put it on social media, you can put it on the blog of your website, and so on and so forth. The same idea, that same 5 tips, you can record in an audio podcast. And again, use it on social media, again, use it on your blog. The trick here is to be helpful. The trick here is to use the same idea, but to disseminate it in various ways, and that will help you to reach a wider audience, basically. So now we've talked about the old way of selling and the new way of selling. We've talked about some tools that you can use to communicate that value and to buy in with new ways of selling. What I would suggest as a start is to sit down and think about what you're most comfortable with. Are you comfortable with writing? Are you comfortable with presenting? Are you comfortable with whatever way it is that your customers want to hear about how you work? And do just that. An article shouldn't take you more than 90 minutes to write. Once you've written that article, share it with friends. Share it with friends in a low-risk environment. Share it with your relatives even. Get some feedback. Once you know that article is up to scratch, share it with your customers. Share it with 2 or 3 of your trusted customers and see what they say. And if they say that it's a great value and it's useful to them, then you're on your way to starting this whole process. So that's this week's video. Thank you very much. I look forward to seeing you next week.